Because right now, the way we are, we're suffering because we are a people who are not sufficiently cohesive. We're not united. We don't do things collectively. We don't have collective self-interest. We have fallen for the hype that as long as I take care of me, everything is fine. And that's a big mistake for black people. Our motto has always been one for all and all for one. That was a term that was written by Alexander Dumas, who was the author of The Three Musketeers, who's a black man.
A black man.
Black man.
A lot of people are not aware of it.
Exactly. You know, where with Caucasian people, they tend to be more, I am all right, Jack. I've got mine, you get yours. They're very individual, they're very selfish, but we have got to become a collective again. We've got to learn how to unite and do things collectively for one another. And I feel responsible and incumbent on me to, you know, try and pass something to the younger ones coming up so that they can, you know, do better than how we did back in the day.
BFBV music.
You are with gotkushTV. We are your #1 conscious platform. We're here at the Natural November event, and we have just listened to a great speech and lecture in healthy eating and healthy living by Leo Muhammad. I've got him here with me to ask him a few questions this here afternoon. How you doing, Leo?
I'm very well, brother. Yes, sir.
Excellent lecture that you gave on the importance of food and health and looking after ourselves at this present time. I wanted to ask you, how long have you been into healthy eating and healthy living?
Well, since the very early 90s, around 1990, 1991, 92, I became a member of the Nation of Islam. And in the Nation of Islam, we have a dietary law, which is called How to Eat to Live. And there are 2 books which accompany the principles of that diet. And basically, I've been trying to follow that to the best of my ability for the last 20-odd years.
And these books have enabled you to become a vegetarian, yeah?
Oh, yes, sir. I became a vegetarian because, in truth, as I grew up as a child, I never did really like meat. I never really liked the taste of it. There was a couple of aspects of it that just didn't really sit with me. And so as soon as I became an adult and I was able to remove myself from the consumption of meat, I stopped doing that. And then I became a complete vegetarian in that I stopped eating fish around 1997 because the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan advised us in the nation to really come away from the fish as well because of all of the substances like plutonium and other things that they're dumping into the oceans now. And unless you really know where that fish is coming from, it's actually potentially quite dangerous to be consuming that. But if I'm completely honest with you, in recent times I have begun to eat a little bit of fish every now and then, but primarily I eat vegetables as opposed to any meat stuff.
Everybody who's probably watching this interview would know you as a comedian, a very successful comedian at that as well, but you have a side of you that likes to educate as well, as we say, edutainment, yeah? So you mix the entertainment with making sure that our people minds are fed the necessary information that you feel that they should have. Having just seen your lecture, it was quite a great thing to behold in the reaction that was coming from various peoples. The transition that you made, how easy or hard was it?
When you say the transition from my former life?
Yeah, from entertainment to edutainment, let's say.
Well, yeah, I mean, initially when I went into, you know, the area of comedy, it was almost by accident because I actually went and trained as a straight actor. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted a medium whereby I could actually express myself. My mother said that when I was a little child, I always had something to say. So I really wanted to find a way of speaking and saying things. And so I went and trained as an actor. And towards the end of my course that I was doing, the acting course I was doing, one of the lessons was cabaret. And basically we had to try and make our classmates laugh, and it turned out that I was actually pretty successful at doing that. And so I kind of fell into the comedy, and that really took off as opposed to the acting. And so back in the day, the 291 Club came up, Hackney Empire, and the black comedy circuit began, and so we really, you know, started to go around the country, and that really took off. Now, at the same time, I was becoming a member of the Nation of Islam. Prior to that, I was developing a bit of a name as a black activist on the streets. I was on all the demonstrations. I was one of the few black faces that you would see on anti-apartheid demonstrations in London. And I began to develop this love for the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Nation of Islam. And so as I was doing the comedy, it began to conflict. I couldn't marry the two things. And then I heard KRS-One, who had coined the phrase edutainment for his music. And then I realized that I could marry humor and education together, and that way that would be a happy medium for what it was that I was trying to do. Because I really wanted to say things that were really quite serious, but I also realized that our people don't necessarily take the serious stuff straight. So if I could couch it in humor, that would be a way of getting the message home. And so in Jamaica, I'm a Jamaican, in Jamaica we have a saying, play a fool for catch wise.
Yes,
and so that's basically what I began to do with the edutainment. And that's how I married the serious and the funny at the same time.
In what we are living in today, yeah, especially with the influences on the young people, yeah, any young person who's maybe watching this and thinking, I like what I just heard Leo says, I wouldn't mind trying to do that. What's the best advice that you would give to them?
The best advice I would say is if they go onto my Facebook page, and they'll find on there a link to a page which is Number One Services, where we offer classes and opportunities for young people to come and really get trained up as black men, get trained up as black women, get trained up in order that they can come into a knowledge of themselves, and in order that as a people we can begin to do better. Because right now, the way we are, we're suffering because we are a people who are not sufficiently cohesive. We're not united. We don't do things collectively. We don't have collective self-interest. We have fallen for the hype that as long as I take care of me, everything is fine. And that's a big mistake for black people. Our motto has always been one for all and all for one. That was a term that was written by Alexander Dumas, who was the author of The Three Musketeers, who's a black man.
Was a black man.
Black
yes.
man.
A lot of people are not aware of it.
Exactly. You know, where with Caucasian people, they tend to be more, I am all right, Jack. I've got mine, you get yours. They're very individual, they're very selfish, but we have got to become a collective again. We've got to learn how to unite and do things collectively for one another. And I feel responsible and incumbent on me to, you know, try and pass something to the younger ones coming up so that they can, you know, do better than how we did back in the day.
We don't really see you on the comedy circuit as much, but you are still in demand at this present time. So enlighten us, what have you been doing and what are you doing at this present time?
Well, you know, believe it or not, brother, you can go to comedy venues up and down this country and you can hear some really filthy, low-down stuff that we classify as comedy today, where regardless of the grandmother in the front row or the little child in the middle row at age 15 or whatever, the comedians don't give a damn about what they say and how disrespectful and how detrimental that type of language is to the growth and development of the human being and the human being's sensibilities. Yet I'm a man who goes on stage, I never swear once. I don't use curse words. I don't talk about things below the belt in that sense. I try to uplift people and give them knowledge, wisdom, understanding, something that when they're leaving the theater or the place where the show was, they feel good about themselves and they feel that they can do better. Yet what you'll find is that many of the promoters and many of the powers that be are scared to death to have Leo Muhammad on a show, in a bill. And so, you know, this is the world that we live in. And so I don't complain about it. Suffice to say that I do get a few outings here and there. There are a few promoters who will book me. Essentially, what they want to see Mr. Fraser. I'm going to be phasing Mr. Fraser out as time goes on. But people want to see Mr. Fraser, the very iconic character from The Real McCoy. And so we do him live here and there, up around the country. But in truth, you know, I intend to do more shows of a one-man show nature, where I will be basically dictating the terms and getting the venue myself and putting on my own, as opposed to trying to be on a circuit which don't necessarily want to hear a voice as strident and as powerful as this. And when I say powerful, I'm not saying I'm powerful. I'm saying that I'm coming from the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
The message that you're trying to send out is a powerful message, and
very powerful,
because it's awakening people.
It transforms life. It transforms human life. I'm a transformation that you're looking at here. And so, you know, what I have gained, I would like to see every human being gain that. As a Muslim, you know, we're taught that a Muslim wants for his brother what he wants for himself.
How do you see the black community in the UK today? Are we progressing or are we regressing? Because we often ask a lot of our interviewees about the state of what's happening at this present time. Many say that things are actually getting worse. They're not actually really getting better.
We're in a lot of trouble, brother. The reality is that, you know, back in the 70s, we knew who the enemy was. We were a much more united people. We wore particular types of colors. We identified with Africa. We identified with the Caribbean. We identified much more with our parents. In this modern era, in 2015, we have become a much more disparate group of people. We are now very divided and very conquered, very ruled over. And yes, it is getting worse, brother. And that's why people like myself, we're out there really trying to educate our people and go against that tide, that flow, that trend, which is saying to our people, don't worry about black, don't worry about unity, don't worry about the future, just live for today, because tomorrow we all die. That's the kind of mentality that's been fed, individualism and selfishness, and you know, our people are becoming less because we know less about our history. The Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said, a people without knowledge of their history is like a tree without roots. And you and I know that if you see a tree that's not rooted, you're looking at something that's dead. And so we've really got to get this message to our people that please don't think that, you know, the liberation struggle died in the 60s or the 70s. It's just beginning in reality. And right now in 2015, brother, we are on the crest of a wave. We are so close to total liberation. We are so close to a really magnificent future as a people. But because the masses of our people don't know the time, they think it's business as usual, and they're just trying to assimilate and integrate and get into somebody else's psyche and somebody else's kitchen and somebody else's plan, as opposed to us coming together and formulating a plan of our own. And so, you know, I'm really desperate to get that message out to our people that it's time for us to recognize that it's actually our time. This time belongs to the black man, it belongs to the black woman. I say that with no apology whatsoever. It is not an accident that Obama is sitting in the White House. He wasn't put in the White House to do anything for black people. He was just put there to show you and me that there is nothing today that you want to achieve, brother, that you cannot achieve. There's nothing that these young people think about today that they want to do, brother, that they cannot do. There is no power in the heavens above or the earth beneath that can stop us, because it's our time. It's a scriptural thing. And it's important that we understand that we are the people spoken of from start to finish, from Genesis all the way to Revelation in the Bible. It's talking about us. We are the true children of Israel. We are those people, brother, who lost our names, our language, our culture, our God, enslaved for 400 years. And God said at the end of that time, I will come and I will judge that nation who they shall serve, and they shall come out having great substance. You understand? Because this is the time that we're living in now. We are those people that we read in scripture about. And this is what we try to get across to our people in the nation of Islam.
Not only that as well, what we try and explain to people is it was the children of Israel, Ishmael and Midiani. It wasn't just the Judahites. But getting back to what you was talking in there, I really like the way you was talking about those three essentials that we need in life. Food, clothes and water. Could you...
The three essentials of life are food, clothing and shelter. And the most important one of those obviously is food. And you know, the food that we eat, brother, the fuel for life is so critically important that we have to be much more sagacious. I think that's the word. We have to be much more careful about what we put into this vessel. You know, this is the reason why it's called a carcass, is because the first three letters is car. It's a vehicle. This is the vehicle. Doesn't matter how long I know you, how long I have a conversation with you. Brother, I will never know you. I have never seen you. I see your body. I see your vehicle. I see the house that you travel in. But you, the essence of you, the majesty of you, brother, is absolutely unseen. And we've got to understand that this vehicle, the same way in which we are careful about our motor vehicle, and we clean it and we look after it and we follow the manufacturer's instructions and put unleaded fuel only, we've got to become like that about this delicate mechanism called the human body and put only the right things in it to make it work optimally. And when we do that, brother, then we have more energy, we are able to think straight, and we are able to solve problems that will confront us, because problems are not things for us to sit around and cry about. Problems are just to be solved. And a human being who is right in their thinking, brother, there's nothing, brother. There's nothing that we cannot overcome.
One of the things you was emphasizing when you was giving the lecture just now was that the fact that the way our young people are at this present time, a lot of us, not just the young people as well, have become addicted to the foods that we're eating because of what has been placed within, added
to them, yes.
Added within those foods. Would you say that is some of the reason why our young people are the way they are at this present time, because of the food addictives, which you said rightly said, it is down to food scientists studying the human body and studying what they can put in the foods, just really to get us to spend our money, not really about our health, is it?
Absolutely, brother. The idea is to manufacture food, processed food that is very addictive. And whether it's all of these fast food things, all of the McDonald's and the Kentucky and all of these things, brother, they have the secret herbs and spices of Colonel Sanders. The reason why it's secret and the reason why the British food industry comes under the Official Secrets Act is because...
It does?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. You need to check these things out. You know, why would you want to keep your food industry a secret? Why is it that we can't know what the ingredients in Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola are?
Why indeed?
You know, why is it that I can take a dirty coin and drop it in a tin of Pepsi and that coin will be shiny and clean by the morning? Why is it that if the hardest substance in my body, which is my tooth enamel, if a tooth was to come out and I dropped it in a tin of Coke or Pepsi overnight, in the morning that tooth will be gone.
Dissolved.
Gone. So what is that doing to the soft tissue of our insides? Why is it that when we drink these things we find ourselves burping and we have this acid coming up over our diaphragm? These things are deadly, brother. The foods that we're eating, they have been deliberately chemicalized and manufactured in such a way that they cause the breakdown of the human body, and then the pharmaceutical companies wax rich when we go to the hospitals and the doctors and we take their drugs. Each drug we take has a side effect which needs another drug, and this is all by design. And we have to become wise to these health issues and begin to grow food and eat food that we know the origins of that food and begin to live healthily again. And so this is how important, you know, what we consume is. And then not only physical food, but mental food. We have to be feeding on the right things. Right now, if we're sitting down watching EastEnders and we're sitting down watching X Factor and these types of so-called reality shows and these things which basically take us away from reality. They take our reality and they have us living a false reality. Brother, these are the things that fill our heads with unnatural habits and appetites, and we have to begin to feed this again the right food, the right knowledge, the right wisdom, the right understanding, so that just like a computer, what you put in is what you get out. When you put the right stuff in here, brother, and a problem in life comes up or an issue, the right answers will come from yourself.
That makes sense.
When the disciples asked Jesus, where is the kingdom of heaven? He said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. It's inside of us, brother. All the answers to every problem that you and I have is already right here. We just have to learn to consume the right spiritual, physical, mental food, and then we will start to see the answers. We have to learn to meditate again. Brother, it's too noisy in our lives. From the time we get up, the mobile phone is ringing, the TV is on, this is going on, in the car it's the radio, you name it, noise. And in that noise we cannot meditate, which is how you listen to God. We cannot pray, which is how you talk to God. So we need to, like the ancient prophets and sages and messengers of olden times, they would go off to a mountain or go to a cave or go to some quiet desert, but they would go to a place where they could get tranquility and peace of mind and think and breathe and listen to their own heartbeat and feel their pulse. This Bank Holiday Monday, inshallah, God willing, I'll be going into the countryside with my family, and we will be seeking that type of solace, and we regularly do these types of things because it's important for us to have those quiet moments. If you can wake up first thing in the morning, before the rest of your family get up before them as the man, and go into a quiet place and pray and then meditate and just take that moment, brother. It's very, very healthy, and it's very, very good for the way in which we operate as human beings. But right now, there is a deliberate attempt at keeping us so busy, so noisy, so distracted that, brother, we don't know whether we are coming or going. And this is all by design.
Well said. I totally would endorse a lot of what you've just said to me. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, because I know you're here with your family, coming to talk with us. I'm sure there'll be people who'll be listening to this and thinking, wow, how can we get in tune with what Leo's saying, or how can we get hold of Leo, or maybe how can we book him to come and give a talk, or how is this done?
Well, if you get on my Facebook, brother, and there's contact details on there where you can contact me. In truth, I should have a number. My wife is my agent. She deals with all my bookings and everything. But maybe afterwards we can give you a number that maybe you can put up on the screen or something, because we really would welcome that. If anybody wants to contact us because they want us to come and give a talk or anything like that, that's our duty. That's what we do, and it will be our great honor for us to do that. So by all means, I will give you a contact and maybe an email address that you can put up. People can get me. My email address is leomuhammad@sky.com. leomuhammad@sky.com, and the Muhammad is spelled as you spelled Muhammad Ali, Muhammad. leomuhammad@sky.com. That's my email address. Please contact me, and I'll be happy to help you in whatever way that I can.
Thank you very much. Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed your talk today and your lecture today. All right, and we hope you'll come back with us here at gotkushTV, and we can sit down and we can have another great talk. Yeah, and maybe open the minds and eyes of our men, women, and children out there. Thank you very much. Inshallah.
Yes, sir. And keep up the good work, brother.
We're trying, my brother.
Sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Peace. You are with GKTV, the UK's #1 conscious platform. Dua Mutavanang just spoke with Leo Muhammad. Keep it where you got it. #1 conscious platform. We're here at the Natural November event, and we have just listened to a great speech and lecture in healthy eating and healthy living by Leo Muhammad. I've got him here with me to ask him a few questions this here afternoon. How you doing, Leo?
I'm very well, brother. Yes, sir.
Excellent lecture that you gave on the importance of food and health and looking after ourselves at this present time. I wanted to ask you, how long have you been into healthy eating and healthy living?
Well, I became an adult and I was able to remove myself from the consumption of meat. I stopped doing that, and then I became a complete vegetarian in that I stopped eating fish around 1997 because the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan advised us in the nation to really come away from the fish as well because of all of the substances like plutonium and other things that they're dumping into the oceans now. And unless you really know where that fish is coming from, it's actually potentially quite dangerous to be consuming that. But if I'm completely honest with you, in recent times I have begun to eat a little bit of fish every now and then, but primarily I eat vegetables. Because right now, the way we are, we're suffering because we are a people who are not sufficiently cohesive. We're not united. We don't do things collectively. We don't have collective self-interest. We have fallen for the hype that as long as I take care of me, everything is fine. And that's a big mistake for black people. Our motto has always been one for all and all for one. That was a term that was written by Alexander Dumas, who was the author of The Three Musketeers, who's a black man.
Was a black man.
Black man.
A lot of people are not aware of it.
Exactly. You know, where with Caucasian people, they tend to be more, I am all right, Jack. I've got mine, you get yours. They're very individual. Since the very early 90s, around 1990, 1991, 92, I became a member of the Nation of Islam. And in the Nation of Islam, we have a dietary law, which is called How to Eat to Live. And there are 2 books which accompany the principles of that diet. And basically, I've been trying to follow that to the best of my ability for the last 20-odd years.
And these books have enabled you to become a vegetarian, yeah?
Oh, yes, sir. I became a vegetarian because, in truth, as I grew up as a child, I never did really like meat. I never really liked the taste of it. There was a couple of aspects of it that just didn't really sit with me. And so as soon as very selfish, but we have got to become a collective again. We've got to learn how to unite and do things collectively for one another. And I feel responsible and incumbent on me to try and pass something to the younger ones coming up so that they can, do better than how we did back in the day.
BFBV music.
You are with gotkushTV. We are your